How's it going, YouTube? My name is Chris. My channel is called The Body Wish. It's an honor to be here. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Oh my, I forgot what I was going to say. That was early. I just barely got started and I just had a complete little lapse. I guess you'd call it brain lapse, cellular lapse, all the above. I'm the guy with the yellow hat and the microphone.
I know that, dude.
By now you should. My goal is to help as many people as possible to develop healthy habits to ensure they have a great wellness journey, and I use clinically proven methods to help you get there. I do this by recommending certain foods that are going to set you up for success and also help you to improve your mindset. Having that higher level of self-confidence, I cannot overstate the importance enough. Having both of those, that great nutrition with a higher level of self-confidence, ensures that you're going to have a more successful wellness journey. My presentation is educational. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disorder. That is the role of you ready for this. That is the role of you ready for this. Your healthcare practitioner. Your healthcare practitioner. All right. Having a little fun with words. Let's get started. I want to begin by sharing some ways to help you improve your self-confidence, because that's where everything begins. You got to get to a point in your life when you're ready to take on a new direction and be open to new possibilities to set you up for the long haul. So my goal is to help you have a really successful journey. Now, it is safe to say, here we are on planet Earth, it's safe to say that life is not a walk in the park. And it's quite obvious it's the opposite. And for that very reason, many of us will get stuck along the way and feel frustrated and resentment, all the above. I've been there myself more than once in life. I've had lots of dark periods in my life where I was just kind of running around aimlessly, and it's the opposite of fun, and it's not why we're here. So when this happens for long periods of time, it leads to this doom and gloom outlook, and life has no meaning. It becomes very shrill, and happiness is not even on the horizon. Now, I want to point out, this is also when we get disconnected from taking care of ourselves because it no longer has the importance that it needs or deserves. Hello, unhealthy lifestyle habits kind of paves the way for that. So when we try and turn this around, oftentimes it feels like we're pushing a boulder up a hill. So, on the one hand, it should be easier, but it's not, and here we are. So I always tell people, you know what? It's okay to feel demoralized. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to even feel self-pity. These are your feelings. Every one of you has a right to these feelings. So you will never hear me say, you shouldn't feel that way. Absolutely you should. In my experience, I've found that it's much better to acknowledge these things than try and push them in the back and squash them down and hope that they just decompose on their own. Hello, Connor. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining. So I'm taking you guys on a wellness journey. It starts out by giving you some tips to help you improve your overall mindset. And then I'm going to discuss a number of things that apply to people who are struggling with a weight loss journey. I'll be talking about calorie deficit and why it doesn't work long term. And then I'm going to introduce a wonderful holistic system that has 7 clinical trials. So everything I'm sharing about that is based on science. None of it is on my opinion. I don't come on social media to promote my opinion. There's enough bro science there to last a lifetime. So anyway, I was saying, oftentimes people's well-being gets kind of off track because we develop that new doom and gloom mindset thanks to life being so difficult. And I have been there myself. We've all been there. We've all had our struggles. Hello, Ms. Lavender. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for joining my show. So I've had this myself, and I'm going to introduce a couple of techniques, if you will, that help to have a more sense of optimism in life. And that's not easy to do. There's a lot of doom and gloom going on in the world. So there's some people in the world who actually is nice. Oh, thank you. Try to. Thank you, Connor. Back at you for being so honest and upfront. So when we get stuck in these periods of doom and gloom, okay, it can be very hard to turn things around. Oftentimes, it's like pushing a boulder up a hill. So how do we finally turn it around? This is something that I find a lot of people aren't always clear, or sometimes different methods out there just don't apply to everybody. Well, I had a period was still kind of on the tail end of COVID. I had developed vertigo. Never had vertigo in my life, and it messed me up for over 5 weeks. And, medication, not against medication, but I'm not taking medication. So what happened was after 4 weeks of this, basically, I got sick of feeling like a victim. And I literally just started coming in with this. I like to compare it with an athlete, the mentality that an athlete has, where they're just like, I'm showing up, I'm making this happen, I'm not making excuses, I'm not going to pamper myself. And when I started doing this, I started reciting affirmations, these short positive phrases that instill a sense of confidence. Things started to change. And now I have heard, for decades, mind over matter. And I always believed in it, but I never quite put it into practice. It was always something that was like a parlor trick. It's like, that sounds good. But this time around, I got to say, it really started to change, and I got over the vertigo. I don't know if you guys have ever had vertigo. It's like dizziness on steroids. You literally feel like you're getting spun in two different directions. Yeah, no fun. So what I'd like to do is I have a slideshow all ready to go. I want to show you some of my favorite affirmations. These are the ones that really made a big difference. 1 second, I'm going to switch screens here. And feel free to take screenshots of these. You can also go to my homepage, The Body Wish, here on YouTube. I believe I put up a link tree. Finally, I kept talking about it. I finally got my link tree link up there. And there's a website called Nice Buy Deals that you can download these from. I like to keep these on my phone, especially when I'm in traffic. Oh boy, do you need some optimism when you're in heavy traffic. People lose their mind. People are texting. People are doing backflips, all the above. All right. Anyway, let me keep rolling through these. Today I conquer all of my setbacks. Feel free to take screenshots if you don't want to get the PDF. Totally good in the hood. By the way, I find a lot of these on Pinterest, and they're really beautiful looking. So I take them and I doctor them up. I have a background in design, so I make them fit in the window here. A winner never quits, and a quitter never wins. When you start saying these and you repeat them, they start to take hold, just like exercise without the lactic acid. If this can become cider, you can become anything. Forget the mistake and remember the lesson. This is one that I recite a lot because all of us are stuck on things from our past we haven't fully faced and overcome yet. So this one is a great reminder. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. Love that one. How can you not? Imagine where you'll be in 30 days if you just start now. Talk about painting a vision for possibilities to get you out of the rut. When you start coming out of the rut, it's literally like you're coming up to the surface and the fog is starting to be pushed away. And you're like, you start appreciating things that you don't even notice when you're stuck in depression, when you're stuck in doom and gloom mode. There's actually a lot of wonderful things going on around you, but you end up missing it. There is no failure. You either win or you learn. Another great one. It's not over when you lose, it's over when you quit. I got one more I'll show. This one is good too. This one I found about a month ago. It's time to acknowledge your greatness. Now, sometimes I know when I was growing up, I never got encouraged with any of this stuff. So I think I must have been probably in my early teens when someone says, you got to believe in yourself. You got to compliment yourself. There was this instant resistance because I thought, oh, that means you're conceited. You're an ego. You're an egotist. You're egotistical. And it's not. It's all about being comfortable in your own shoes. It's about being a friend instead of being a nemesis. Because God knows there's so much negativity around us all day long. We start getting infected with this. We start doubting ourselves. And then we're wondering, like, how come I can't crack a smile anymore? And well, there's a lot of reasons for that. As I said, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the world, but there are ways to come out of it. There are ways to insulate from it so it's not the better part of your life. These affirmations, I found these to be the most powerful. When I started saying these, I mentioned a minute ago when I had the vertigo. I mean, vertigo sucks. You get out of bed and you have to hold on to something because you're going every which way. It's not fun. And you start wondering, especially when it goes on for weeks, it's like, is there any end to this? So they do have a lot of potency to them. The point I wanted to say before I forget is this is something you want to say on a regular basis. You make a commitment to yourself. You don't do this on a part-time basis. You do these first thing in the morning. Welcome to the best day of your life. Today I conquer all of my setbacks. And then what you do is you repeat them throughout the day. And it starts to take hold. You'll have these moods where you feel more optimistic. And that's why I show them to people. That's why I recommend them to people, because they work. Words are powerful. Thoughts are even more powerful. So let's talk for a minute about the folks who get stuck in a rut. Okay. Many times people reach for things on the outside to put some gratification back in their life, and food is one of the biggest go-tos. Food is pleasurable. You're talking to somebody who lived with a chef for 10 years. You bet I know what good food is. I look forward to it. Now, unfortunately, so much of the foods in the supermarket have become nutritionally bankrupt over the decades. I'm going to pause for just a moment. Let's get in a time machine. Let's go back to the 1960s for a minute. 10% of the population was overweight. The foods were still pretty good back then. However, now, 2025, more than half the population is overweight. Half of that group is obese, the other half is pre-diabetic. Worldwide, there's over 8 billion people, over 1 billion now are clinically obese. What happened? This doesn't drop out of the sky. The conditions in the body are created for a number of reasons. One of them is our food industry. The foods are just loaded with cheap chemicals because it's cheap for the companies to make so they can maximize their profits. There's no nutritional value in a lot of this. Even the good stuff, the organic, a lot of them don't have the minerals. They don't have the nutrients in the abundance that we need. There was a study put out by Harvard University. It ran a long time. It started back, I think, in like 1955. You guys can probably look this up. I don't have a screenshot for this. And I think it ran for 30 years. And they said something like a bowl of spinach to get the equivalent of the nutrients in like 1995, you had to get something like 30 or 40 bowls. I mean, it's crazy. I know it sounds like it's too, it's a far reach to believe, but that's what has happened. That's why the nutrients are just not there in so many aspects. We know this is unfolding and affecting people because more than ever, people have brain fog, people have constant fatigue. I had that for 25 years. More allergies, more illness. And the thing is, it's hitting younger people. It's hitting people 20s, 30s, 40s. So you got an environment that has consistently gotten more contaminated over the decades. Then you got a shitty food industry that's not nourishing the body. The whole concept of nourishing is just like out there in left field. It's like, oh yeah, that's a nice sounding word. How do you do that? So no wonder the conditions are being created in the body for this to happen. We got higher rates of depression, more than any other time in history. There's a reason for this. This is not just you were singled out. You were pulled out of line. And it's like, you get like this. I thought like when I had chronic fatigue for so many years, I'm like, oh, this is the cards I was dealt. It's not. This is all deliberate. This is all happening right under our nose. So when people reach for these nutritionally bankrupt foods that are low in fiber, low in protein, and have heaping amounts of processed sugar on them, guess what that creates? Food cravings. Food cravings that become persistent like a mosquito buzzing in your ear. You swat it away and it comes right back. People start thinking they don't have, what do you call it, willpower. This is not about willpower. This is what happens when you're not nourishing your body. See, they figured this out back in the 70s. It was around the same time they were introducing chemicals into the tobacco to make it harder to quit. All around the same time, they were making the foods less nourishing. So guess what would happen? You'd have these food cravings. You'd never feel satisfied. So they literally figured out how to keep people hungry all the time. And from that time on, the problem with weight gain has been slowly creeping up, and now it's like a runaway train. More people now are becoming overweight than ever before. Now stop and think for a second. There are so many weight loss options out there. I was told a couple of months ago there's over 100 diets. And then add to this cake mix, you got these drugs now that suppress the appetite. So with all these methods out there, shouldn't these numbers be coming down? The opposite's happening. Why is that? Well, because all of these methods operate under calorie deficit. This is the go-to. It's been the go-to for eons. Actually, calorie deficit in dieting goes back hundreds of years. It's not something that just popped up in the last 75 years. So interesting thing is there's no medical proof that counting calories works long-term. There's not one study out there. And yet you're going to hear influencers, even people with credentials, parrot this narrative that the only way to lose weight is to count calories. Well, guess what? Your body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Your body does not count calories. Okay? What the body responds to is nutrition. And when you give it really good, high-quality nutrition, it does what it was intended to do in the first place, which is to have a strong immune system, burn fat, maintain muscle mass, have healthy gut health. Healthy gut health. I've got to work on that one. But that's where we've gotten so far off the rails. So what's actually happening when you go into a calorie deficit? Okay, you're actually dialing back the amount of fuel that your body can run on. So imagine trying to drive a car from LA to Washington, D.C. on a quarter of a tank of gas. Good luck. It's not going to happen. Now, it's not to the extreme with dieting, but it's very similar. You're not getting the nutrients. So when you don't have the fuel, when you're not getting those nutrients, the body starts looking for other sources of energy. And the two places it turns to is fat and muscle. That's why diets are called weight loss. That's why the semaglutides, the pharmaceutical drugs that suppress the appetite, that's why these are called weight loss and not fat loss, because you're not just burning off fat. If all you were doing was burning off fat, you'd be good in the hood. But what happens is when you start burning through muscle, this slows down your metabolism. So guess what takes a hit? Your ability to burn fat when you have a slower metabolism. So many folks get on a diet, they get on the pharmaceutical drugs, they start having success in the beginning, but then they hit the plateau. And they're scratching their head, putting that lightly, they're more like frustrated as hell. Why can't I lose weight? Why am I stuck here? Why am I going backwards? Why am I putting the weight back on? What's going on here? So they start blaming themselves because they think it's them. They think, I don't have willpower. That's the biggest... I don't know what you call it, but that they blame themselves because they think they don't have willpower. It has nothing to do with willpower. This is a limitation. This is the outcome of every single method of counting calories out there. Can you lose weight at first? Absolutely. Most people will lose weight at first. You can lose weight on a Coca-Cola diet. You can lose weight on a Domino's pizza diet. You can lose weight on a Cheerios diet. Nobody's arguing about that. It's what happens to your body long term. That's why there's no studies that says counting calories works long term. Because, drum roll please, it doesn't. So if counting calories doesn't work, what other options are there? Well, there was a holistic nutritional system that was created 10 years ago. It does not operate on calorie deficit. What this system does, when they were first in the concept phase, they wanted to create a system whereby you cut back on the amount of food that you eat, but without cutting back on the nutrients. Therefore, you do not go into this deficit. And what this system does is it very intelligently addresses the three culprits that contribute to poor health and excessive weight gain. And the three culprits are nutritional deficiency, toxicity in the body, in the cells, and stress. Stress actually is a big contributor to being overweight. Stress is responsible for a lot of things. I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before. There's no groundbreaking revelations here. So what the system did was it addressed all three of these, and it's like a tune-up for a car, except it's a tune-up for the body so that the body can run more optimally. All right, enough of my banter. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the system I'm hinting at is called a 30-day reset. And it addresses those three problems with these three core products. There are some other products that come with this, but the three core include the big one in the middle with the red text. Those are superfoods. Those help make up for the nutrients that sadly are no longer abundant in a lot of our store-bought foods. They're very nutritionally dense. The two in the upper left are adaptogens. Adaptogens are different botanicals that help us to recover from stress, and they work really well. They're the reason why I stopped swearing at my computer so much. And the ones in the bottom left are botanicals that help the liver more efficiently remove these contaminants I was talking about a minute ago from the fat cells. So I am a big proponent of sharing clinical research versus giving my opinion. So I want to show you the first of 7 studies. It's easy to understand. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand these. Now, this 30-day system was tested against the gold standard of weight loss options in the United States, which is known as the Mediterranean diet. You guys have probably heard of this. The Mediterranean is not a bad diet. It's actually a whole foods diet. It's what doctors were recommending more than any other method to lose weight and keep it off. That's the problem, though, because it's based on calorie deficit. People put the weight back on again. So in the first study, it ran for 8 weeks. It was done at the University of Chicago. Those who were on the 30-day system lost 56% more weight. They lost twice as much visceral fat. That's the stubborn fat in the belly. That's the fat that hangs on to the toxins when we can't eliminate them. 41% drop in food cravings. That is a breath of fresh air for you folks who've been struggling with food noise. 25% improvement in gut health. 6 to 9% more lean muscle. See, if this was calorie deficit, again, people would be losing muscle. They'd go back to square one and they'd end up putting the weight back on. But this is all about optimizing the body to do what it was intended to do in the first place. Now I'll show you how simple the system is to implement. So again, 3 core products. The first core product is the superfoods. And you make these just like you'd make your favorite smoothie. These are very nutritionally dense. This is not like anything you're going to find in the supermarket. So for less than a Starbucks, you get all 90 key nutrients. That's what makes it a meal replacement. We're all supposed to be getting 90 nutrients in every meal, and most of us are not. Low glycemic, they're not going to spike the sugar. 36 grams of whey or plant-based protein, whatever you prefer, you can actually mix and match. These are gluten-free, they're soy-free, essential vitamins and minerals, a variety of delicious flavors. And what you do is for the first 6 days of each week, you just simply replace 2 of your 3 meals. These have 8 grams of fiber, so if you're worried like you're going to be hungry in an hour, I have these, I do like 1 now, every day or almost every day. And when I have these, I'm not even thinking about food for like 3.5 hours. I literally just feel satiated. That's what these shakes do. They build muscle, they improve the gut health, they lower the food cravings. So you do this for the first 6 days, easy peasy. For the 7th day, we do a day of intermittent fasting. And on the day of fasting, we take this botanical beverage. It tastes really good. It's made of a variety of different berries that help the liver to get rid of these awful toxins. Again, everything I'm sharing with you guys, this has all been clinically tested. None of this is my opinion. So the botanicals help to get rid of things like forever chemicals, dioxins, PCBs, pesticides, herbicides, was all proven. The scientists that did these studies were blown away because all of them were actually recommending the Mediterranean diet until they learned about the system and actually tested it in these peer-reviewed studies. So then the third core product, the final core product, are the adaptogens. And adaptogens are different botanicals that help us to recover from stress. They take the edge off when we're stressed out. And if you're feeling low energy, they tend to improve your mental clarity and your overall performance. So everything is natural. There's no artificial junk, this or that or the other thing. And I got on this system a little over 4 years ago. I wasn't having weight issues. I had one time in my life in 2017, I got pretty enormous. I got up to like 185 pounds and I'm 5'7". Uh-oh, somebody's been snacking too much. Now, I managed to lose that just out of fear because I didn't want to, wave my hand and say, hey, illness, I'm right over here, come and get me. But a couple of years later, about 4 years ago, I learned about this system. It came highly recommended, and it's not just for people who are looking to lose weight. Now, I had a period of over 25 years where I was dealing with these unexplained bouts of exhaustion, fatigue, tinnitus, low energy, definitely had the doom and gloom outlook on life, had to stop exercising in the last 5 years of that 25-year period. Johnny became a dull boy. So I try the system out more out of curiosity than anything else. I have no expectations. And a week into it, after I loaded up on the superfoods for 6 days and I do the intermittent fasting, the following day, kumbaya, I have a significant breakthrough. 5 years of brain fog cleared up. 5 years. 5 years of it 5 years of brain fog took me 30 minutes to snap out of it in the morning. I mean, never a more accurate way to describe how a person feels. But the brain fog lifted. I got really good night's sleep, first time in ages. Everything improved. So I went through the whole 30-day system. Thank you, Lucille. God bless you too. I went through this whole system and I was like, I had to pinch myself. I'm like, I can't believe this thing worked after so many times of striking out. When I first had this happen, I was 30 years old, or I'm 61 now. I was 30 years old living in Boston at the time. And that's when I first started having these bouts of exhaustion, and they would come and go. So I went to the doctor, went to several doctors over the years, got blood work done, got tested for Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr, got tested for heavy metals, got tested for food allergies. Nothing was coming back abnormal. So at one point I worked with a naturopath because they study nutrition. Struck out with that. At another time I hired a dietitian. Struck out with that. Later on, I hired a nutritionist. Guess what happened? Yeah, swing and a miss. I lived with a chef for 10 years. Chefs actually get a lot of training in nutrition, so I was in good hands. For 10 years, I was eating really well. So I still know how to cook. I know how to eat foods. I know how to stay away from the junk. Yeah, I can have some cookies from time to time, but it's not a way of life for me. But the point is, I'm doing everything on paper by the book, and I got nothing in return to show for it. It only got worse. So this was just like, wow, Renaissance time. Everything kept improving. Now, I will say, I was timid about trying to do exercise again because I had been down and out for so long. I just thought, well, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm just glad I'm feeling better. The brain fog's gone. So 4 months down the road, I'm trying out this and some other products along the way because now you definitely got my attention. And I thought, I wonder if I could just do 10 minutes of yoga. Because when I was at my worst, 10 minutes of yoga would throw me in a tailspin the following day. That's when, by late morning, my ears would be ringing like church bells. I was dizzy, tired, like I'd been up all night. So I thought, all right, fingers crossed, let's see what happens. I'm going to find out very quickly if I'm recovering or not. Well, lo and behold, I go in and I do 10 minutes of yoga. Next day, I wake up with my fingers crossed. I'm like, I hope I don't get any backlash. Guess what? Nothing happened. I'm like, wow. So I kept the routine going. Just keep doing 10 minutes. Let's see, maybe it'll eventually come back. But I got a green light. So I bumped it up to 15 minutes, and then over time to 20 minutes, I started getting braver. 30 minutes, up to 45, up to an hour. I'm like, holy guacamole, something works. So then I thought, I wonder if I can lift weights again. So I got these dumbbells in the other room. So I start doing arm curls, start doing, overhead and all, a handful of other ones. Weights was another thing that would basically send me, into a tailspin. No backlash. I'm like, I cannot believe this. This is phenomenal. So anyway, you guys know where I'm going with this. Eventually, I started going back into running, and everything's working again. I mean, I never thought I was going to get back on the horse and ride. So that's why I'm here 4 years later, because I know people are struggling. I'm on these platforms. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I watch other influencers' content for, trying to help people get energy back, trying to help people lose weight. And what gets me is I read the comments and I see so much frustration out there. I see so many people doing, counting calories, losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight. That's why they're called yo-yo diets. People struggling with low energy. Fatigue is a real, what's the word? It's a real enigma. Doctors don't know what to make of chronic fatigue. I mean, the term itself is kind of a bullshit term because it's like, yeah, you feel fatigue and you feel fatigue chronically. You're tired all the time. They don't know what else to do. So that's why I felt trapped for so long. I thought, this is the cards I was dealt. But, there are solutions out there. And the body is really amazing. That's what I walked away from. The body is an incredible miracle. It has the ability to heal itself, but we have to give it the right tools to get there. So if you or somebody has been struggling with the symptoms I was describing, going up and down with weight loss options, if somebody's dealing with, constant low level of energy and they really feel stuck, this is definitely worth taking a look at. I'll put a website. You guys can take a screenshot. Sometimes in life we don't know what we don't know unless we take that extra step and do some investigation. By the way, you can access this website on my homepage. If nothing, do it out of curiosity. Go to thebodywish.wordpress.com, go up to the menu, click on products, and then click on nutritional system. A lot of good information up there. There's a short 3-minute video that explains how this works. I've covered most of this already, but the video is made very well. And it's easy peasy to understand. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to drop off in a minute because it's getting late now and you guys probably want to get back to your evening as well. So it's always an honor to be here, and I'm very grateful for you guys showing up and hanging out on my presentation. What is it? I lose track of days. It's Wednesday. You work from home. Every day is every day. I forget. I have to look at the calendar because I live it's like living in a man cave. So it's been an honor to connect. I'm going to wrap it up and hopefully see you again. If anybody's got any questions, I've got contact information on my home page here on YouTube. Plus, there's also a contact page on the website. And if you want to set up a time to talk with me, there's a Calendly link there. We can get on a Zoom call, bring any questions or skepticism, and I will do my best to answer and address any and all of those. So on that note, I'm going to drop out and wish you guys a great evening. Ciao for now.